Hello, citizens of Gotham. My name is Graham Elwood. You're watching the Political Vigilante. Let me make sure everything's good. Can everybody see and hear me all right? Make sure the volume is work. Okay, everything's good to be. Everything seems to be good. We're going to have Eleanor Goldfield on the show in a moment. How is it going? It's going quite well. Thank you, everybody. For joining us, please hit the like button and share this out on your social media. And of course, what's up, Backyard Politics? Check out that show, everybody. Hello. To everybody watching us on YouTube, Facebook Live, and the Rockfin. Of course, we got two interviews set up for today. We're going to do Eleanor, and then we have a Patreon interview after that. I've got some segments. It's a big jam-packed Lollapalooza of a show, folks. And also because I'm going to be taking next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and all of next week off. So we want to pack it in, get as much content as possible. And of course, we'll be doing government secrets tomorrow. I'm assuming. I think so. I don't know if I've confirmed that. I'm just assuming. That's how we do things here. I think we might be doing something, maybe. I don't know. Is that cool? I need to get up at 3:30 in the morning today to be on Crosstalk because they're in Moscow and I'm in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and there's a little bit of a time change. So I woke up and then went back to bed at 4:30 in the morning and woke up at 8. So it's I'm a little off, but I did have a nice 2 cups of green tea this morning while watching the Cubs win yet again. Graham, you shouldn't support baseball. It's part of the big corporate state. I know, but it's the Cubs and they're in first place. So, we're just going to have to deal with that. We're going to bring Eleanor on the show, talk about her music. She also has a documentary, Hard Road of Hope, we're going to talk about. And many, many other things. So then after, if you want we're still month 4 of good old demonetization from CIA Tube, everybody. So, go to grahamelwood.com. There's a PayPal button. There's a store. You can buy Political Vigilante merch. There's the Venmo. And then, of course, please go over to rockfin.com/GrahamElwood and sign up there. It's free to sign up. There's a $10 premium thing, which if you do that, you get my stuff. You get Lee Camp stuff. You get Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, everybody over there. Abby Martin is now over there. She just won her lawsuit. So take that, Netanyahu. And so if you ask any questions, like after the interview with Eleanor, I'll go and answer the tips over on Rockfin and then Venmo, and then before we do the next interview. So it's gonna be jam-packed. Let's get it. Let's bring it out here. Kate, our moderator, is kind of traveling, so she might be joining us a little later. So, actually, I'm gonna make. Nikki, you have been handed the chalice of being a moderator. Nikki at Backyard Politics. I've just changed your name. Nikki from Backyard Politics is our interim moderator. So if you're new to the channel, here's what's up. You can disagree in the chat all you want. You can debate. The minute you start being an asshole saying, fuck you, you suck, any insults, you're going to get bounced. With great power comes great responsibility, Nikki. So if you act like a fuckstick, you're going to get thrown out. That's like baseball. The umpire just, throw you out. I like that. But he didn't, that's not he has the freedom of speech. No, not in that context. Nope. You're just being an asshole. All right. Let's bring our guest on the show, ladies and gentlemen. She's been on the show once before as a contestant on the now named Anything Can Happen game show. I forgot the name of my own game show. But she, good Lord, I just feel like I've smoked crack. My brain just freezes. This is what happens when you get up early and then talk politics too early in the morning in Moscow. I'm going to bring her on and we're going to let her give her own credit. So I don't want to fuck it up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Eleanor Goldfield. Eleanor, how are you?
I'm better than you, I guess. Although I have to say, I'm a Mets fan, so I'm not that much better than you.
See, there's something about baseball. Like, I get it. Like, big sports is, I know it's all these corporations and all this. I know it's big business and the billionaires, but there's just something about baseball.
You know, and I have to say that, like, I played softball growing up, and it's true. Like, the things you learn in sports are important lessons. Like, the fact that they've now turned it into a recruitment for the U.S. military is not the fault of sports. Like, sports are good, and they should happen. But we should be able to separate the two. And I think it's important that we can still get together and watch, you know, the Mets suck terribly on a Saturday afternoon. Like, I think that's important.
Yeah, it's true. It is not the fault of baseball that the military industrial complex says we want to fly fighter jets over your ballpark. It's like, all right, I thought we were just going to like eat hot dogs and watch baseball. Yeah. And the one thing too, when I was younger, I used to be way too much into sports, like overly got too wound up. And then I was like, whatever. But doing this show the last 4.5 years, I've really realized how much I need the distraction of just like, oh, they traded that guy, like over like, oh, they bombed someone. Like that's right. You need a balance from the horrors of the ruling class.
Yes, you need the fluff.
You do need the fluff. You do need to just like talk balls and strikes with somebody and be like, oh, why is that guy still on the team? He's 50.
Or when you realize, like when I realized, because I was a Mets fan from birth, basically, otherwise I wouldn't have a relationship with my father. And when I started to realize that like everybody on the field was younger than me, and I was like, oh, that's a thing now. That person's 19.
Yeah, that's the guy retiring is 15 years younger than me. Yeah. Like that was a little disconcerting when I'm like, really? Like the coach is younger than me by 2 years. Like, ooh,
and yet you're still yelling at people for being old because they're 32. Get off the field, Grandpa.
Yeah. You hang it up, 33-year-old. Oh, that's a little mean. What if you said that to me? Hey, old comedian who can't wake up early for an interview in Moscow, hang it up. Well, Eleanor, I really wanted to have you on the show because you, well, first of all, let's talk about your documentary and because we'll get to I want to talk about your music too, because it's a thing that I've mentioned a lot on this show about how big corporations have co-opted even the entertainment industry. So you're not allowed to do any of that. But I want to share this screen with everybody just so people can see it. The Hard Road of Hope, which is hardroadofhope.com. And this is your documentary, which is available. It has won all of these prestigious awards. So why don't you tell us what this movie is, and not only where people can, obviously they can go to this website to see it, but what inspired you to do it, and you know, why aren't you could have taken a big 6-figure or 7-figure gig at MSNBC, but instead you chose the lucrative world of activism, which is
I know. It's funny. I've said to people the past couple of years, it's almost like I've tried really hard to be poor and obscure with the life choices that I've made. Like, yeah, I mean, we can get to this later, but I was just recently on an interview where they were asking me like, well, why did, you know, what happened with your band? And I was like, well, basically I had several meetings with record execs who told me to get bigger tits and to stop writing political songs, write some love songs, and to wear skirts on stage. So here I am.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you thought your music and being creative and artistic was going to work? No, we need you to get up there and shake it and talk about a breakup or a dance party or a dance party breakup or a party that dance parties breakup. Do a whole album of that, and you're set.
Yeah. So yeah, poor and obscure. And so the film is about West Virginia, which I know some people are like, but actually that is part of why I made it, because I grew up mostly in North Carolina, and like West Virginia is the butt end of jokes there, which something has gone awry if you're the butt end of jokes in North Carolina. So I really like, I was curious not only to go there as somebody who goes to frontline fights in terms of the environment, because West Virginia is in this crazy intersection of dying coal and the rise of fracking. But I also wanted to go there to see like why has West Virginia become the butt end of jokes? Like why is it considered to be a throwaway state just filled with hillbillies who don't matter? And what's really fascinating is that it has this like this storyline around it, predominantly because it used to be the exact opposite. Like West Virginia's history is radical. Like at the turn of the 20th century, the mine wars happened. It's actually the 100th anniversary this year of the Battle of Blair Mountain, where mine workers came together, black and white and immigrant mine workers came together and took up arms and shot at coal barons in order to win basic labor rights. And they won. They won the right to be paid in American money as opposed to being paid in like company scrip. Folks might be familiar with this song, I Sold My Soul to the Company Store. That's what he's talking about. They weren't paid with actual American money. They were paid with company money that they could only use at the company store. So you're basically like, it's indentured servitude because you can't like go to a different place and spend that money. They won better working conditions. Kids were no longer allowed to work in mines. One of the people I spoke to in the film, his grandfather started working in a mine at the age of 10. Which like I have a hard time even processing that, but that like wasn't that long ago. This guy's like in his 50s and his grandfather worked in a mine at the age of 10. The fact that he even got old enough to procreate is mind-boggling to me. So, and this is the history of West Virginia. And it's this radical history of people working together across culture, across race at the turn of the 20th century, when that was unheard of anywhere, but in particular the South. And this happened in West Virginia, and it's really been buried in West Virginia. And so West Virginia is a home of a radical past and a deeply propagandized and splintered, like more recent history and present. And it's really kind of like it's a mirror to look at the rest of the country and see how we have collectively been propagandized, but also how we collectively have this radical past, particularly in terms of labor rights. You know, and so I think that like the reason that I wanted to highlight West Virginia in particular is because it's such a perfect microcosm of the propaganda that we consume, that we're programmed with, and the radical past that we really have to reconnect with if we want to make a difference in the present and build a better future.
Well, it sounds like you just need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But no, there's some feedback echo thing. Am I the only one hearing this?
On me, I don't hear it.
Now it's gone.
Is it me?
Okay. This is why Lee and I do Government Secrets, is because we just keep learning about story after story after story like this that was hidden from us for a very specific reason. I grew up in Chicago. I did not know about Fred Hampton until 2 years ago, when Chris Hedges talked about him in his book and talked about him on the Jimmy Dore show. I didn't know about Fred Hampton. I didn't know there was a neighborhood called Hillbilly Harlem in a city I grew up in. Mm-hmm. And this is the same thing that they've done in West Virginia. They hide in, and it's this, look, it's the same thing. Oh, a bunch of working class blacks and whites and Latinos all got together to say, stick it to the ruling class. They're like, nope, we can't let that story get out. Yeah. we need everybody to think that there's this race war happening 24/7. And it's like, America, you know, the thing that's so I don't know what's the word, insidious, I guess, about the propaganda is it is taking a part of America's, what many Americans like to view themselves as we're the revolutionaries. You know, we stood up to King George and we fought for things and we have all these great rights in this country. Well, one of the things that we have is great labor laws. Because of all of these labor battles in the early 1900s specifically. And it's the same story. So that of the wealthy coming in and crushing it. And now they buy the propaganda. And that's the narrative of West Virginia. Oh, they're a bunch of a bunch of hillbilly Trump supporters or whatever. And it's like, no, man, they've been screwed over. Like the people in West Virginia voted for Bernie Sanders overwhelmingly in 2016 and then voted for Trump because they didn't forget NAFTA. They didn't forget how Clinton neoliberal policies took their jobs away. And then I remember after Hillary lost in 16, Bernie did that town hall in West Virginia. And all these like people who you would think are just Trumpers were like, oh, I'd vote for this guy because they've been screwed over by labor. I mean, literally they know, I mean, in that movie, I forget knock down the doors or whatever with AOC and Paula Jean Swearengin or whatever. That documentary, I forget it, but it was about them all running right before we learned that AOC was a sellout. And it was she was talking to her mom, and her mom was like worried. She's like, "There's bodies up in those hills. The coal companies kill people that fight them. You know what I mean? That's the long, rich history of this." And it goes to another reason why, like, why hasn't this story been made by A-list actors in Hollywood? Wouldn't this make a great story? And like, I was shocked that the Fred Hampton movie kind of snuck through because it's like, you know, they don't want to show people working together. They don't want to do that. So I guess it's like, learning all this and having this uncovered, what was the experience of the people you interviewed in West Virginia? And obviously you heard about this guy whose grandfather was, you know, working in coal mines at 10, and then sort of the eye opening, because that's the thing that I love about documentaries is they can really show you a subculture that you weren't aware of and educate you about stuff that you had no idea about and take you as the filmmaker into a place that sounds like, yeah, you grew up with these jokes about West Virginia or whatever. And it probably opened your eyes as a filmmaker. Like when I went to Afghanistan as a comedian, I'd never been with the military. I had no idea what they went through. And that opened my eyes. And going to Russia, the last documentary I did, I had no idea what Russia was about. I had no idea. So like, how was that journey for you? And then for people that you've shown it to, I'm sure you've got, you know, friends and college educated friends on the East Coast who probably have that negative stereotype of West Virginia. How has this movie impacted them?
Yeah. So I think like that question brings up a really solid point, because the reason that I went there and the reason that I oftentimes have gone to like frontline communities is because I not only want to document, but I also want to help out. Like when I go to these places, I'm like, hey, do you need help with the ground support and the tree sit or whatever, you know? I help out as an organizer as well as a journalist. And one of the things that I was kind of like feeling this before, but this just made it so much more obvious, and it allowed me to kind of put words to it and put, you know, a film to it really. But the idea that like leftist organizers or environmental organizers or what have you will oftentimes go into predominantly white poor areas and talk down to people and treat them like they're idiots and say, listen, this is what you need to know. And, you know, nobody wants to be talked to like they're an idiot. And I think the problem is that we on the left do a really good job of dissecting race and gender, but less so class. And that's really concerning because in particular, these rural and poor white communities are right in the crosshairs for the KKK. And if we don't reach out to them and try to build community with them, guess who's going to? And I think that that's like something that's very important to highlight, that no matter who you're talking to, don't talk down to them. And this class lens is super important to take with you wherever you're going. And also recognizing that just because somebody doesn't have a liberal arts education doesn't mean that they don't know what it feels like to be oppressed. You brought up the fact that people voted for Bernie in 2016. Why? Because he was speaking to their needs. They know what they need. in order to thrive, in order to survive. And when some when some big green organization comes in and says, well, you need to quit your jobs because you're hurting the planet. What the hell am I supposed to do with that? Like, yeah, great. I'll quit my job and then what? Like watch my family starve? That sounds great, but at least I'll save a tree. Like that doesn't scan for people. Like, and it shouldn't. It should, like, people need to be talked to like they're human beings, and also recognize the situations they're in. I don't know anybody who is, like at career day at school when you're in kindergarten that says, I want to get black lung when I'm 40. Like, I don't think that that's a thing that happens. And so treating these people like they're idiots and that they want to die young for the sake of dirty energy is just so stupid. And it's totally unhelpful for building community and actually doing outreach and building these solidarity networks that we need in order to combat the fossil fuel industry. Or like, George Carlin put it, the fact that America is an oil company with an army. So in order to combat that, you really do need to have these organizing efforts that reach out to people that have been propagandized and be able to, and I'm not necessarily saying that like Black organizers should do this, but particularly white organizers, go into these poor white rural communities, sit down on a porch and have a beer and say, hey, you don't trust the Democrats? Neither do I. Let's talk about it. And then like have these conversations, and they will be icky at times, but then you can have these one-on-one conversations. And this is where that organizing really starts to take root. And the activism that is teaching history. Like, it's one thing to say, hey, at some point, sometime, whatever ago, somebody cared about labor rights, like in Wisconsin. But to say that, no, your great grandfather took up arms and shot at coal barons. Like, that is something deeply personal. And that is something really powerful to share with people that's been kept from them, a powerful piece of their own history. And so I think like it's really powerful to teach that history. And that's something that like, that's probably the main thing that I took away from, and that I learned, is that we have to do better when we go into these spaces and do a lot more listening than we do talking. And, also recognize that these people know what they need. They need like collaboration in getting it. They don't need to be told what that is.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, you bring up such a great point of the condescending plays right into the propaganda that they're fed. And you also, of like, oh, these liberal elites in the big cities think you're dumb and they want to take your job away and they want to take your gun away or whatever. And they don't care. They want to outlaw beer and milk or whatever their propaganda that they're fed. And they're fed some crazy propaganda. But then, liberal people who watch MSNBC and CNN, they don't want to wake up to the reality that they're fed a bunch of crazy propaganda. I don't know. Russia's stolen everything. Russia prevented Hillary from campaigning in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, I guess. Like, Putin turned the motorcade away from those states. Or maybe it was Jill Stein, or probably Angry Burn Bros. I think it was Burn. But that's such so, and again, like why I'm such a student of history is in history, when you bring up the historical facts, people go, oh, wow, I had no idea. It's like what we're learning about the, Black Wall Street, what happened in Tulsa. Didn't even know that existed, let alone how horrifically it was taken down. So if you were to campaign in those, and the Democratic Party will never do this, but some type of independent candidate or People's Party or whatever should go to West Virginia and say, yeah, your great grandparents shot at coal barons. Because here's the thing. People working in the coal and the fossil fuel industry, they know it's awful. They see the poison contaminated water. They have the black lung. They have kids who've been with, bizarre health issues, and they've seen all that stuff. They would gladly work in a solar panel plant or making wind turbines or whatever it is. But you can't come in there and say, quit your jobs, you're evil.
Yeah.
You got to say, we're going to transition you. Like this is what a real Green New Deal would be. And you make that the cornerstone of the Green New Deal is we're going to transition you at the same, you're making 50 grand a year in the coal mines. You're going to make 50 grand a year moving over to green energy or whatever that is. Because
like, interestingly enough, the UMWA, the United Mine Workers of America, released a statement, like, I think earlier this month, that said that they want a just transition. This is the Union for Mine Workers that put out a statement saying they want a just transition away from coal. Like, like you said, they're well aware. And yes, there are still some people in coal country who like feel deeply connected to it, and feel that it's part of their identity. But why do they feel that way? They feel that way because they feel that they've helped to build America, and they have pride in that work. Okay, well then you can also have pride in building a sustainable future, right? Like, it's about taking this pride that has been propagandized and twisted into something really dark and sinister, and putting it into something that could actually, like, I don't know, give people the ability to survive for the next like 30 years.
Yeah, and you bring up a lot of too about the economics of this, and how, you know, basically the KKK is a gang that comes in and preys them. It's the same model in the inner cities. There's not a lot of opportunity, and the street gangs in the inner cities, the Black and Latino street gangs, it's the same thing. It's the same thing that ISIS does. There's disenfranchised young Muslim males, not a lot of job, not a lot of opportunity. This gang comes in and says they're the ones over there. They did it. So blame them, and everyone join, and with nothing. It's the same model. You take people that haven't been given a lot of opportunity and have been propagandized. And every American needs to realize they've been propagandized. Like, we all need to accept that. Like, you just ask yourself, who lost the most in World War II? Was not America. It was not. It was Russia. It was like 20 to 25 million people. So that's the thing that's so critical, and it's such a. That's why, you know, Bernie doing those town halls on Fox News was so important, and why someone with a real populist message, and it's again too, that, you know, the neoliberals and the Democratic Party refuse to acknowledge that Trump, while had many racist, xenophobic things in his you know, first campaign in 2016 and throughout his presidency, did run in 2016. He didn't really do it in his reelection, but in 2016 he ran on a very populist platform. He said, I'm going to bring your job back. And when Hillary was going to $10,000 a plate dinners, he was standing in front of closed down factories saying, I'm going to open this factory back up and I'm going to bring your job back. You could say it was nonsense or lies or whatever, but that was his message. And she didn't have that message.
And he was perceived as different, even though he's of course not. He is like the poster child of like the totally facocked, 1%, but he was perceived as different. And people remember Clinton. They remember that he kiboshed welfare. They remember the crime bill. Like, they know that he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, this is, I mean, people might be goldfish in some aspects, but when you talk about the Clinton dynasty, like literally that's what we're talking about. They're like, no, thanks. I'm going to go with something that seems to be different, or the guy who says he's a democratic socialist. Like, they're totally opposite sides of the spectrum. And I mean, Bernie's really not that left. I mean, coming from Sweden, he's like a centrist, but like, still, these are the options, because you know what the same gets you. And so to vote for the same just seems insane. And so you're like, well, I'm going to go for what seems different. And if you kill Bernie, which of course the Democrats did twice, then I guess I'll go with the neo-fascist.
Yeah. Well, what is the reaction, Ben, when you've shown this movie to specifically people in bigger cities, you know, college educated, probably never been to West Virginia, don't know what it's like? Because I've just noticed that as a comedian, having traveled all over this country, and I talk to friends of mine who live in big cities. They've never been through the middle of the country. They don't know what it's like. And I'm like, yeah, you have no idea. When they were like, oh my God, Trump, where did all these racists come from? I'm like, they've been there a while. This has been there a while. And they also have not driven through this country and seen the decimated economics of this country. They haven't seen the closed factories and just towns that are like virtual ghost towns. They haven't seen the opioid epidemic just crush mainly rural areas. They haven't seen that because, you know, drugs have always been sort of a big city thing. So they've never witnessed. I mean, you drive through like Eastern Ohio, there's just opioid crisis, opioid epidemic. I mean, it's all over the place. And it's it's brutal. And these big pharmaceutical companies pushed it. And so seeing how so many like college educated big city people have no clue, what has the reaction been from some friends of yours or even just people in an audience? I know you've screened it at a lot of festivals. It looks like what is the reaction from people who have never been to this part of the country? How are they perceiving it?
Yeah, well, I mean, in particular, the opioid epidemic, West Virginia holds the uncoveted first place of, the top of the opioid epidemic in terms of addiction and death. So it's the third poorest state in the nation. It's the second most rural. So there you go. And so the response, particularly from people in cities, has been far more quiet actually than people who live in like the Rust Belt and people who live in Colorado or California and places that have been taken over by fracking and things like that, because there's kind of like a recognition of solidarity there. I think people in cities have had this kind of, a few people have reached out and said like, wow, I didn't realize that this was happening. This is really fascinating. Thanks for talking about it. But I've also gotten responses that like, why is this important? Which I think is really funny because how is it not? I like on so many different levels. It's important because of the history of labor rights and understanding, kind of like what y'all do with government secrets. You can't understand where the hell you are in the present unless you understand the past. It's like being like out to sea. If you have the map, then at least you can be like, oh, this is where we came from. If you don't have the map, then you're blind and you're just wandering through the doldrums, completely lost. So knowing the past gives you that map, and then you can actually chart your future, like, and make good decisions, as opposed to like, I guess I'll just wander around because I don't understand where I came from. So how can I possibly understand where I'm going? And so from that perspective, it's hugely important, but also just from the eco side perspective, Appalachia's like one of the most biodiverse regions in the world. And it's also at the crosshairs of both coal and fracking. Like, wow, what a massive commentary on our extreme addiction to fossil fuels. And, the attempts at things like solar and wind, which, by the way, would be great on decimated mountaintops, small, localized, locally owned and operated, solar farms and arrays and things like that. But so the question as to why this is important that I've gotten from a couple of people, it really just speaks to the bubble, right? The bubble of the urban lifestyle, the bubble of I have a reusable tote bag and a Prius, ergo I don't need to care about, fossil fuel companies or, wandering through coal slurry on my way to school like a kid in West Virginia. It's this very like, and having lived in LA for 10 years, it's like it was so hard to organize there because of that, because of this perspective that, sitting there in Santa Monica with a little with like a little like a Prosecco or whatever, and you're like, I used a glass water bottle today. It's like that you've done your part to save the whales or whatever, and it's like it's so incredibly infuriating because it's all about that personal choice and your privilege to make that personal choice, as opposed to people who live in these places whose choices are Walmart and to work for a coal company, and not looking at the systemic structure in order to understand that, oh yeah, it is 100 companies that are responsible for 70% of global emissions, or the US military's emissions are equal to that of 140 countries. Like we can't address climate change with your Prius and your glass water bottle that costs like $20. That's not going to cut it. And so it really just speaks to these like annoying bubbles of liberalism.
Yeah. When they're just like, just manifest it. That's like a whole.
It's on my vision board.
just put not living in toxic fracking water on your vision board, and then you'll be fine. Just, have your wealthy parents co-sign a loan to open an organic clothing store that's overpriced and no one can afford.
It's the mindfulness version of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
It is the mind. They're just not as mindful in West Virginia.
Right?
They just weren't mindful. They just weren't mindful. They just manifest it. Just manifest no more coal mines. Just
Put it out there to the universe.
just
oh my God. I
Sorry.
just have to tell this story because it is the most LA thing I think that I've seen. So I went to visit. This was probably back in 2018, a couple of years after I moved, and my friend and I were about to go for a hike, and so we stopped off at this juice place because it's LA, and to get like a snack before we go. And I just saw like along the wall there's like a variety of faucets, like 5 different faucets that all have little signs on them. One says like prosperity, one says love. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And this girl walks past me to one of the faucets and starts filling up a water bottle. And I'm like, I gotta know what the hell this is about. So I walk up to the cash register and I'm like, excuse me, what is going on here? And she's like, that's our intention water. And I was like, wait, what? And she's like, so we have ceremonies around the water where we bless it with intention, and then you can buy that for your own use and your own intentions. And I was like, that's LA tap water, right? Like, can we? That's just straight up LA. Like, you're not even putting that shit through a filter. And then she's like, well, we've held ceremony around it, and I'm like, okay, this is the most LA thing I've ever heard in my entire, and people are buying it, and it's like expensive.
So if I hear you correctly, you're saying Flint, Michigan just should have had one of these ceremonies? Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Yes. The intention there would have been clean, and then I think we would have been okay.
Just make clean water your intention. Just say, I want authentic water. That's,
if you run it over a crystal, then
oh God, the crystals. Oh, it's weird. The crystals didn't cure COVID. I thought the crystals were going to cure COVID.
I just don't think that you you need to use them as an enema, Graham. So if you just really shove it up there.
Okay, great. What a great intention. Take this crystal and shove it up your ass, you dumb hippie. Well, I'm here with Eleanor Goldfield. Where can people see this movie, your documentary?
It's at hardroadofhope.com.
Excellent. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. Please hit the like button, share this out. I'm here talking with Eleanor Goldfield, who has directed an amazing documentary about labor history in West Virginia, but also you're a musician and you've made a lot of, you have a new EP out, I believe, with a lot of activist songs. And I really want to talk about that because it's something I've tried to make clear to my audience as someone who's been in the entertainment industry my entire adult life. When we talk about the corporate media, I'm not just talking about news outlets. I'm talking about how they have hijacked any sort of activism within mainstream music, film. I mean, you look at the 60s and 70s, every artist had to have some type of activist something. They had to take a stand on the Vietnam War, on equal rights, on civil rights. You had to have take a stand on that. And all of the movies that came out in that era, The Deer Hunter and Apocalypse Now, 3 Days of the Condor, stuff like that. I mean, these movies that were very anti-war, even though some of the Vietnam movies, the depiction of Vietnamese was very kind of skewed and stereotypical, but they were still anti-war movies. And you could have that kind of social commentary. And that social commentary gets through every once in a while now. But mainly when you have 5 multinational conglomerates that own 95% of all media. I mean, you think some cool online streaming service? No, they're owned by some massive corporation that probably, owns fracking and spent, central bank money. They spent, whatever. They're in arms trading and probably had Epstein over whatever horrid ruling class shit that they're into. And so you're not like, I talk about this as a comic. You're not going to get a Netflix special doing the kind of comedy that I do or Lee Camp does or Jimmy Dore, that's not going to happen. Calling out the war machine So I know you talked a little bit about it in the other segment, but walk us through your like journey as an artist. I know you were living in LA, and I'm sure that just was great dealing with LA record executives. They're just the best people in the world. I mean, they're just good. They're just good people. So walk us through what that's like, and how and then what it breeds is also self-censorship. You're like, well, I could do this, but if I, as a comedian, it's like I could call out how horrific, you know, our political system is, but you can do a couple of Trump jokes about his hair, or maybe Joe Biden seems sleepy, but you can't call him a rapist and a warmonger. So walk us through that journey as a musician, and also, yeah, walk us through all that. That was a long question.
Everybody, let's go for a walk. So yeah, well, I think I oftentimes say that I got it on both sides of the glass, because I worked in recording studios, and so I worked, and when I say both sides of the glass, I mean control room and live room, and that sort of like as an artist, but also as somebody who works as a tech, because that was my job. It's a barrel of laughs. It was, I think, like, just particularly as a woman, like the extreme sexism that exists is also, it's really amplified because of the politics. So for instance, it wasn't just a problem that I was, you know, a woman, and therefore, like, one of the stories that I like telling is, for instance, we're playing the Viper Room in LA, and we're there for sound check. So I go to the door to get in for sound check, and the doorman says, "Girlfriends aren't allowed in yet." And I said, "That's great. When they get here, I'll be sure to let them know, but you're not going to get a fucking sound check unless you let me in." So there was that like pretty much any female had to deal with in that industry. But then the fact that I didn't fit that mold of, in particular, like in the hard rock scene, which is where I was, like predominantly like big tits that are always in a push-up bra, which I really don't even understand the physics of that, because like singing with a push-up bra, I've never understood how that works, because he like constricts your diaphragm, but whatever. Mazel tov to the people who make that work. But like, the stereotype for the hard rock chick was, that visual, and like the big heels and the boots and the mini skirts and the fishnets. I always went on stage in my motorcycle boots and my jeans and a t-shirt. So I already didn't fit that like perceived necessity of the hard rock chick. And then the fact that I would go on stage with an American flag and then like step on it. And in between songs talk about like US empire, like that was just like you're just adding to the nose on the list of like access to anything. And so it became really like untenable. And I've talked about this before too, like the weight of oh, did I disappear? Oh, there I go. Okay. The weight of decisions that the band makes, like in terms of, whether you're going to write love songs or not, it falls on typically the front person, which was me. And it becomes even more amplified again because being a woman who's very political, it was my fault that the band didn't get further, because I weighed my morals against my dreams and decided that my morals mattered more, because if I gave up those to achieve my dreams, then they wouldn't actually be my dreams. They'd be some record exec's dreams. And I don't care about him. He can go suck it. So it like that there was just a lot of layers of like guilt and shame that were shoved at me. And even with all of that, I would say that I would never trade it for anything, because I had a great time and it was incredibly powerful. I'm super proud of the music that we made, the music that we put out there, and the experiences, like opening up for Tom Morello and stuff like that, like really powerful and amazing experiences I wouldn't trade. But continuously going up against that wall of you're not the appropriate front woman, I just decided that like, okay, I guess I'm not. And that I guess that this is then not for me because I'm not going to live somebody else's dream. The whole point of moving here at the, the young age of 18 with stars in my eyes was because I wanted to do it my way. And if I can't, I will choose a different path. So that's what I've done. And music has been kind of difficult since the band broke up, but this latest release has really been a way for me to unpack that. It's been a way for me to like continue to do the political music, but without having to check in with a band, which is kind of nice. Like there's no drummer being like, you can't hear my kick drum. Like there's no bass player that's like, you're not hearing my riff or whatever. And so that's kind of nice, even though it felt a little lonely in the studio, it was still nice to have to rely on myself, and to lean into my own like musical abilities, which are not great, but they're there and I can, and I'm working on making them better. But just having that experience of creating this solo album, which is 3 original songs and 2 spoken word pieces, has been really important. And also just kind of bucking the system in that sense that like, oh yeah, you can't put spoken word music on the same album. Watch me. I don't care about your reviews. I don't care about your, strict genres and shit. Like I'm so over that. I tried for so many years to like make sure that shit fit right and that we were, that we looked right and like only guys with long hair could play in the, all that shit. Now it's like, you know what, whatever. I'm just going to put shit on there that I like and find other people that like it. And if you don't listen to it, just leave me alone. I'm done with the industry side of things because it's just so soul sucking. And even though I'm obviously part of it to the extent that I'm putting music out there, I'm no longer looking for industry approval. I'm no longer looking for that record exec meeting. I'm no longer looking for that. I'm looking for, the clubs that I can play and connect with people on a one-to-one basis. I've let go of the Wembley Stadium dream, So yeah, I like that's kind of the abridged version of the musical journey. And the studio journey is not totally different, but it's another beast. But yeah.
Well, there's a freedom in that. There's a freedom in letting, and when you finally come to that conclusion of, you know what, I'm not playing this game anymore. I hit it. I'd been doing this show about 4 or 5 months. I started January of 2017 and I had 164 subscribers when I started, and I don't know. And then I was building and I had, 3, 4, 5,000 subscribers or something like that. And, I did this, they asked me to do this movie game show. It was like a pilot presentation since I had hosted a bunch of game shows and I did a movie review podcast and I've directed a couple of films. I was like, they asked me to do this. And it was a producer that I knew, and I didn't even have to audition. I was just hired, and we were going to do a pilot presentation at the San Diego Comic-Con. This would have been, it was perfect. I was handpicked to do this gig, and I'm like, we're going to do this presentation. I was even involved in the like structure of the game show because I've done a bunch of game show pilots and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. And then they called me up and they saw my Twitter feed where I was being critical of Anthony Rendon, a California state Democrat who just voted down single payer healthcare in the state of California. Good old Democrats.
I know. Always there for you.
Always there for you. And he said, I'm sorry, man. And he called me up. I heard it in his voice. I was like, oh, wow. And I remember having to make this decision. I was like, I've only been doing this YouTube show for 4 or 5 months. If I keep doing this YouTube show, I'm basically saying probably no to a lot of mainstream Hollywood work. I mean, that's probably what's going to happen. And I thought about it and was like, nah, fuck you. And then I released a video saying, this is what happened. I didn't name the guy's name or anything, but I said, this is what happened. And it was for this online streaming service that's owned by this massive conglomerate that owns 40 different. So you think it's all these independents. It's not. And like, it's like when you learn Chipotle's are owned by Coca-Cola or whatever, you're like, okay, great. Or McDonald's, whatever, which is one of those assholes. And yeah, and I made that decision, and it was kind of scary because I've done over 300 episodes of TV. I've, done late night stand up. I've, had all these, I got scripts I want to sell and all this stuff. And to kind of be like, I got to say no to this. But then the freedom that comes from, I'm going to do this my way. And you know what? Nobody tells me what I can and cannot say on the show. Even though YouTube's demonetizing me, fine. I'm over on Rockfin. Fine. I don't give a shit. And so there's a freedom in that. And I'm sure creatively, like if I ever got like mega wealthy, or if I would have a record label, and just because the thing is there's all, and I'm not a musician, nor am I a music producer, but I would just own a label, because to find musicians that are doing social commentary is hard now. You have to really dig through it, because the big labels, as you've laid out, they're not going to let that happen. You're not going to get and they probably lay it out for you. They're like, look, wear this bra, this outfit, sing these songs, and we'll get you in the big arena.
Yeah.
Or, wear t-shirts and boots, and you can play that rock club.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, so subject, like how freeing was it then artistically to just do this album, just you in a studio? Is it just you playing guitar basically for some of the songs, or what?
So I'll say first of all that like I always did what I wanted to do. It's just that I accepted that would never be synonymous with like fame. After once the band folded, because one of the reasons the band folded is that the band was pissed at me for quote unquote standing in their way, which again, like kind of unfair. But I think like I always felt very strongly about doing it my way. And now I just have, like you said, like the freedom to recognize that I'm no longer trying to make it. Like my version of making it now is to have people, like, to be on shows like yours and to have people message me and be like, holy shit, that was really awesome. I enjoyed it. Like, and eventually playing a show live, if that's a thing we could ever do again. Like that to me is making it. I'm not, the freedom of being able to do it my way I've always felt like I'm doing it my way, but now I really have the ability to let go of any of the like the guilt and the shame that's associated with doing it my way. And it's also nice to not feel like I'm letting down a band, because you do become family. And so you feel like you're letting down like your brothers by making these decisions. And that's really shitty. Because for all of the shit that went down, which is plenty, I did love those guys. And I still, part of me will always feel bad because I'm Jewish. And so I carry that guilt. That's what I do. So, but I mean, it was incredibly freeing, but I'll say like one of the reasons, or the reason that the album is called No Solo, even though it is my first solo album, is because I also recognize that even sitting alone in that studio that used to be filled with 4 other sweaty dudes, I realized I'm not actually alone in here, because there's the engineer and their producer that's on the other side of the glass that's like with me, because let's be honest, producers are really therapists. And there's a guitar player there who's doing the lead work and throwing out ideas. And then there's like all the people that weren't in the studio with me, but also like cheering me on and being like, this is so cool that you're doing this. And I'm like super stoked for you. And so all of that support. So even though I was sitting alone in this studio, I wasn't actually alone. And this also speaks to the parallel that I've felt on the front lines. Like when I'm standing in front of a bunch of cops or a bunch of pipeline workers and you feel horrifically alone, and yet you realize you're not really alone because you have so many people in solidarity with you that are on your side, that are on the front lines in other places and in other spaces, in other times even. And you're fighting a fight that is not your own, that it belongs to all of us. And there is so much connection and community and collectivity there. And so both on an artistic level and then on a level of overtly political and as an organizer, you're not alone, even when you technically physically are. And so that was really kind of me unpacking that and me speaking to that as now a solo artist.
That's awesome. So this is your first solo album.
It is.
That's great. And where can people get it?
So you can get that and all of my work really at artkillingapathy.com, and you can listen to the tracks on iTunes or Spotify, but please, if you like it, buy it at artkillingapathy.com, because Spotify and iTunes are assholes and they don't support artists. So support your independent artists, and if you dig something, go to their sites and buy it. Mine is artkillingapathy.com.
You know what I want to make? Is I want to make like poppy dance songs, but just have all these like socialist lefty messages in there that are super poppy, but just like,
please. Please.
I really want to do that. I'm not a musician, but who knows? I will.
I'd buy that album, Graham. I totally would.
Right? Like if I'm really banking if all these cryptocurrencies go through the roof, like I'm hoping they will, because I know these billionaire fucks just deliberately dropped the price so they could buy up more, soulless assholes that they are. I'm holding mine. I didn't panic sell. So if I become a millionaire crypto guy, oh my God, am I going to unleash holy hell on the fucking ruling class media? And we're just going to do poppy fun. So there's socialist messages. It's going to be action movies where we're fighting the military industrial complex.
Yes.
They won't know they're not going to know what's going to hit them.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Well, thank you so much, Eleanor, for taking time to come on our show and tell us about
so much for having me.
Your documentary and your new album. And we really appreciate the work you're doing. So any final thoughts?
Really appreciate what you're doing. Keep doing it. And thanks so much for having me.
Anytime. And we'll get you back on the game show to get revenge against Lee.
Oh, God. All right. Anything could happen. Even embarrassing shit.
It's totally true. Anything could happen. All right. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye. Folks, how about that? What a fantastic interview. Wasn't that great? Wasn't that great? Talking to an artist, activist, like, man, that's why I love doing the show. I love doing the show because it's not like there's nobody going, Graham, you can't interview her, or the network really wants you to interview this guy, from whatever, The Bachelor or something. Like, I don't want to interview a guy from The Bachelor. Well, the network would really like it. Oh, wow. Tell the network to suck it because I work for no one. Activist artist. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to, first of all, I got to get our next guest ready to go. So let me do this. I'll just move this going and make sure you follow Eleanor if you're new to her work. It's going to be Emilio Pereira. I've had him on the show once before, and I know I butchered his name the last time, I think. So we're going to bring him on the show in a couple of minutes, but in the meantime, please hit the like button. We are, what are we at? 272 likes. Awesome. Let's get that up to 300. Hit the like button, even if you're on Rockfin or Facebook. And I'm going to read some of the over on rockfin.com. Great way to support the show and all. So this live stream today, if you just joined us, as soon as it's over, you can watch the archive of it, the playback at rockfin.com/Graham Elwood if you're a premium member, and patreon.com/Graham Elwood at the $10 level. I put all my live streams, the playbacks are available at Patreon and Rockfin. And then I will be dropping. So this interview we just did, I'll put it into two segments. One will be talking about the movie in West Virginia, and the other one will be talking about the music. And then I'll also drop the full interview down the road. So if you missed that or money's tight, which is totally cool, you'll be able to watch everything Eleanor and I just talked about in the next couple days. And thank you to everybody over at Rockfin supporting the show. MHC, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Not to mention that the Democratic Party released an unprecedented pandemic and its effects to ram their undesirable presidential candidate through. If the pandemic hadn't lined up with the Trump presidency, who knows what would have happened in the 2020 election. Good point. Dave Bird, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Dave, thank you so much for supporting our show. Bubblegum Douche. I'm in Maryland, the part of the state where I live borders West Virginia. If there is a difference between the people south of the Potomac County / state line of West Virginia and those of us in North Maryland, I have yet to notice. Stereotypes die hard, especially regarding Appalachia. Oh, nice. Thank you, Bubblegum. Appreciate that. That's something we don't know, but they don't want us to know. They just want to lump everybody into a category. And Doc Terminus, shave the knuckles for justice. Great interview, Graham. Thank you. I have exciting news. The teaser poster for Muppet Rising is posted to your Twitter just a few minutes ago. Oh, you're an angel sent from heaven, Doc Terminus. I will check that out. MHC, shave your knuckles for justice. What was the restaurant with the intention water owned? Was the restaurant with the intention water owned by Nestle? Goddamn, that's hilarious. Probably. Stephen Denning, shave your knuckles for justice, Stephen. Hi, Graham. Sorry, I got you demonetized. Did you read the book I recommended? Is that which book? I forget which one. Were you the one who sent me JFK and the Unspeakable? I read that book, or I'm in the middle of reading it after Lee and I did the JFK segments that got my show demonetized. Matt S. What's up, Matt? How you doing, brother? Shave your knuckles for justice. The leader of Hamas, Shiwar, came out of hiding holding a child bearing an AK-47. How does this affect the image of Hamas in Palestine? Well, I'm not... Israel's obviously the main aggressor. They're doing there's apartheid. Gaza is an open air prison, but Hamas is not blameless in this scenario. But the notion that there's two sides, and if Hamas would just stop, Hamas is a terrorist organization, but they have very little influence, and this doesn't help. Like Hamas doing this does not help. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's CIA intelligence and Mossad people within Hamas that are keeping to stir the pot, but it's literally somewhere in the rate of about 20-1 Palestinians being killed to Israelis, like 20 Palestinians for every one Israeli. So, yeah, it doesn't help. It doesn't help the situation, and Hamas is not blameless, but the onus is on Israel that is trying to commit genocide. But I'm glad you brought that up. I'm pretty sure that's just propaganda. Could be. Hamas is a national liberation movement. Yep. Aggressive regimes: U.S., Israel, Russia, China, India, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Myanmar. Yep, that is all correct. That is all correct. All right, everybody. We're about to bring our next guest on the show. We're doing a big action pack. We're going to bring our next guest on the show, Emilio, and then we even got a segment or two to do after that. We're just banging it out, folks. Big bonus double deluxe episode here. How is Russia an aggressive regime? They might not be that aggressive, a little bit. Let me check Venmo real quick before we bring up our guests. If anybody asks questions on Venmo, you can do that at Graham-Elwood. Linda Corey, shave your knuckles for justice. Thank you for always telling the truth. Linda, thank you for supporting our show. I very much appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. I think we're good. Emilio's just about ready. Looks like he's. Hey, look, I got the thumbs up from him. All right. One of the great ways you can support the show is do what Emilio's doing and go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood, where you can be a patron. We'll do a video interview and discuss whatever you'd like to discuss. We've had Emilio on before. So he just got his mask off. Let's bring him on. And remember, folks, hit the like button, share this out on your social media. And if you want to, please sign up for rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. And I will, after this interview, we'll go back and answer more tips and we'll do more segments and stuff like that. So here we go. Emilio, my friend, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're all set.
We're all set, my friend. It's good to have you back on the show. How's everything doing?
Yeah, it's doing fine. Sorry for the change of things that I have to do this from work, end of the day, and it's okay.
No worries, my friend. No worries at all. And then, so I was just going through. You wanted to talk about specifically. Tell us what you want to talk about, because we had several emails back and forth about a couple different things.
Yeah, well, as I told you last time we met, I stumbled upon this documentary on the military-industrial complex from the European perspective. It's a DW documentary. I don't know if you know DW, the German BBC, you can call it. It's the Deutsche Welle, the German wave. And they have really good documentaries. They're really critic of many European practices. I don't know, I saw one about the cacao or cocoa plantations in Africa using slave children. It was very good. And the YouTube recommendations, the algorithm just threw me into this documentary, and it was nice. A few months passed by, and when I was listening to Joe Rogan interview Tulsi Gabbard during the elections, during the campaign, they had this very casual commentary. I think Jacko Willink was there, and they had this very casual commentary on oh yeah, and isn't it cool when you're at the bases and you have all the smells from the food of the people working for Halliburton, for the contractors, and you're like I don't know if it surprised me, because the main when you hear contractors, you think people with guns working for private companies working for the American government,
right?
And then one thing that is you're not very aware, if you're not in that world or if you have not been there, is that it goes like there are a lot of things that are done by contractors. I don't know if you had this experience when you were in Afghanistan.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and that's a great point. People don't realize that and this was done through Dick Cheney, made this possible. So all these jobs that used to be done by just regular people in the Army, they used to call it KP duty. The kitchens, cleaning the latrines, all that stuff, making the food, that was all done by people in the military. And then Dick Cheney helped pass that to make it all done by contractors. And so it was done, Halliburton owned KBR, which is again one of Dick Cheney's companies. So all these people were private contractors when I was there. They weren't just mercenaries. They were just like cooks, janitors, cleaners, and some of them were what they called TPNs, third-party nationals. They were from other countries, Kyrgyzstan or other Middle Eastern areas, and they were brought in to work. And so some of them were Americans who were paid crazy amounts of money to come here, and then some of them were third-party nationals. And what they would do is they would pay the third-party nationals less and then bill the military more. So basically, I'm just going to use round numbers here, but they'd bill the military. The military's paying for, this person's getting whatever, 50 grand a year to work in a in a dining hall, basically a dining facilities, they call them DFACs, and at this base, but they would only pay him 20 grand a year and then keep the rest for profits. I mean, so it was just really, it's why the never ending war, it's all the private contractors. And even when they say, oh, we're pulling troops out, there's all these private contractors. And then from the combat side, so private contractors that are usually ex-military, they don't have the same rules of engagement. So there's all these there's somewhat strict rules of engagement with the military, but the private contractors don't have that. So they can just this guy looks bad, boom, we can just shoot him.
Yeah, and you will see one of the commentaries made in the documentary addresses this point of this difference, but which is very, very big. And yeah, it's something that I listened to the last part you were talking with Eleanor, and this is one of the things, and also I listened to you, man, and you were talking about Hollywood, CIA, the movies, the industry. And it's like the big omissions in a war movie, even the ones that won awards, like Hard Locker, or ones that have been very praised for their authenticity. As what's the other one? The Hard Locker was one, and there are series like HBO series about the invasion of Iraq. I don't remember the
Generation Kill.
Oh yeah, Generation Kill, which is based on a bestseller, and this is like a very big omission. In Generation Kill, you only see contractors when they deliver pizzas to them before they're deployed, and that's like and it's almost comical because it's like how do you get Pizza Hut into the base? Like, that's really funny because everything here is run by the military, people in uniform and whatever. And the reality is that it's not, not to a point, maybe, I don't know if you felt it, but maybe that you get disappointed. Like really, if you see how everything is made, it's like, nah, it's not that, exciting or something.
So what else? What else was uncovered in this documentary?
I have a presentation, and I had to take some artistic liberties so we don't get very bombarded by the copyright robots. so please, and so I'm going to share screen. Okay, don't show this to me. Sorry, man.
That's okay. Okay. Is this it?
Oh yeah, but I'm gonna change screens. Sorry, dude. Yeah, because otherwise it's what's going to show very small.
Okay.
Yeah, this one.
And this is the documentary that was put out by German television.
Yeah, it was there. Can you see me? Yeah.
Yes, this one.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I don't know if you see the nose or the complete thing. I don't know.
It says, yeah, armies in the hands of corporations.
Okay, and it's full screen and no funny things.
No funny things that I can see.
Okay, yeah. Well, Armies in the Hands of Corporations, Defense as a Business, and it's produced by the Deutsche Welle, and first aired circa to August 2018. And I only know this, I will tell you why. It's a reportage by Jutta Pinsler, Michaela Kirst, and Martin Grunmeyer. They did a fantastic job. After I didn't found it, I went into a deep search. I went, through Ecosia, Google, whatever, you name it, Yahoo, because when I saw Tulsi talking about these things about the contractors, I remember I saw this in this documentary. I will look it up on YouTube, and it didn't show up. and I was like, oh, maybe I'm messing. And I tried every single combination of words. I went into my history, and it wasn't there. And I was like, man, they pulled this down.
Wow.
And then I went into the Deutsche Welle in English, the international site, you can call it, and it wasn't there. And I said, well, I saw this in Spanish. I might well as well look inside the DW site, but in Spanish, it's European, so it's in many European languages.
Mhm.
And in Spanish, I found the page that refers to the existence of this documentary, and it's 26 January, June 2018, and it's all in Spanish. It's very tongue in cheek because the picture that they use, it looks like a Nazi salute, but it's actually a guy telling another guy like stop the truck or something. But I think these guys, the authors, Jutta, Michael, and Martin, just I think they went too far, and you will see why. By the way, this is the. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about the documentary. It's very long. It's like 3 hours.
Okay.
It's divided in two parts. You can still find it on YouTube, but it's not in the official. It's only in Spanish. If you want subtitles, they have no subtitles because it's like a random guy like a Sergio something uploaded the video, and if the algorithm takes note, it will be taken down. Well, when I was looking for it in English, it was very funny because I put, ejércitos and manos is armies in the hands of corporations.
Mhm.
So I went, like, armies in the hands, and the results were U.S. sanctions, Venezuela, oil shipping, closes in on spy chief, and Jimi Hendrix lives, I don't know, and Berlin orders barracks to be searched after a Nazi era symbols discovery, which is a whole other problem that the German army has, for my understanding. And well,
I mean, this is like what they did. They just scrub a movie from the internet as best they can and make it almost impossible to find. So it's just, you have to really dig for it because they know that most people, if they just type it into their search engine and it doesn't pop up immediately, they're going to say, oh, I guess it's gone or it doesn't exist or whatever. So this is like very intentional.
yes, yes, it's like the right to forget.
Yeah.
But like in-house right to forget, and you can see, like, I mean, DW, as I told you, is very, very liberal. You can see stuff like actually hurts European or German corporations or politicians, so they're really critical. And to have this taken down, it's like, whoa. It's yeah, doing the good thing about the political vigilantism is one of those telltales.
Yep. There you go. That's when you know.
So, well, the premise of the documentary is subcontracting, and private contractors promise low costs and fast results. What are the risks of this strategy? How close is the cooperation between industry and armies, and how the privatization wave hits the democratic control of military action? Uh, and well, they say, military consortiums and private companies have assumed many of the army's tasks. This generates criticism. Nowadays, private companies not only supply armies with equipment, but also the know-how and personnel to operate them. This is they had pictures of these big expos, like military expos, like, you can have, so you have Comic-Con, but you have, DEFCON or whatever they name them.
It's the Comic-Con for war. Yeah, I got it. It's great.
And the other is, it's a stylized picture that from the documentary. All this is taken from the documentary, but I didn't want to show like the actual pictures for copyright or whatever. And it's better this way. It looks better. Which is a blue-collar worker from a German company working alongside a German officer. They are repairing like an 80, I call them, sort of a German MRAP. And this is in Afghanistan. This is not in this is happening in an actual war zone. First, let's talk a little bit in the documentary. What I'm talking is a little bit of what the documentary talks in this first part, and so you get the idea. The French army has about
just so we're clear, all this information you're putting up in these slides is information you've pulled from this documentary.
Yes, exact information. The italicized things is actual commentary. I'm quoting. So I'm quoting from the documentary. Well, quoting and it's a translated quote because it's in Spanish.
Okay.
So yeah, the French army, it says that France has about, remember this is 2018, the year when it was aired. So France has about 7,300 soldiers abroad, invest 1.8% of its GDP in the armed forces. The French government participates a lot in the military industry. This is a French thing. Like Renault, the car manufacturer, is the same thing with Renault. The French government owns stock on Renault, just like German government owns stock in BMW. But the French excel at this. They love to, because many of these companies were first state-owned companies, and then neoliberal whatever, but they still get have stake on them, which makes a bigger conflict of interest. Like, it's good that the government makes its own weapons, but when there's a business here, let's sell them to Mali, to Czechoslovakia, to whatever. No, you're crossing many lines. France in 2018 had 209,000 servicemen and women. I don't know what's the number in the US. I'm sorry. I don't know if you have a number.
It's probably several million. I don't have an exact number, but I know it's several million.
It's in the millions, okay?
Yeah.
They're stretched thin since they have several missions abroad and have to guard important infrastructure against terrorism. I can attest to this. I mean, if you go to France, they have military in the airports, near nuclear plants, and they are around. I mean, it's not that you don't get to see the army. Well, this is the Florence Parly. Remember her, French defense minister, and it's what they say, no? And they say, innovation and modernization are an obligation to the armed forces. That's what they're selling. And she works. She still is the French defense minister with Macron. They're supposed to be social, from the Parti Socialiste, from the Socialist Party, but is one of the worst, you can tell, neoliberals, neocons.
Well, that quote is basically just saying our military needs to be innovation and new technology. That's just saying, yeah, blank check. The military gets whatever it wants, so it can have laser guided missiles and nonsense while people can't eat or whatever.
Yeah, and you have, as citizens and as critics, you have to just look for these little pieces that of information. I mean, you start getting, as they say in opera, the leitmotif, like the song, the background song,
right?
Because it's international. We don't have to like give them a lot of credit, like give anyone a lot of credit. Like they have this bunch of people behind them that tell them to do the same thing all over the world. So you will hear innovation, modernization, not only in France, you will hear it in Germany, in Spain, in the United States, whatever. When it's part of the script.
Yeah, it's the defense industry writes these scripts to say so, and they give politicians money so that then they later say these things, and everyone goes, "Oh boy, yeah, we need innovation and modernization."
I mean, who doesn't? Yeah. You want to be modern. You don't want to go back to the prehistorical times. Well, let's move on. This guy, Claude Serfati from the University of Versailles, says this type of privatizations should worry us, especially for the harm made to the taxpayers. They end up being more expensive than public services. That's the critique this guy gives. Then the German army. Germany has about 4,000 soldiers abroad. in Afghanistan and Mali. They have a big operation in Mali, and it's actually one of the selling points of join the, the few the proud, the German army or whatever. It's like, go to Mali, whatever. Invest 1.2 of the GDP. The military industry is privately owned. This means that the government doesn't have a stake, as in France. And in 2016, it hit the lowest point in active duties. Servicemen and women were 180,000, which is really low. Germany is a country of about 80 million. If I don't, it's like a third of, maybe a fourth of the United States, but 180,000. I think there are more cops in New York or something like that. So that's, but the thing is that there are a lot of choices for young people in Germany, not only a military. They can join like a university, or they can go to a trade school or whatever, know how to be a certified carpenter or plumber or whatever. And then you have this lady, Ursula von der Leyen. Maybe you have seen her because she's now the president of the European Commission, which is this weird and powerful structure in the European Union. She's not elected. She's proposed to the European Parliament. But well, then she was the German defense minister, and her thing was the challenges are immense, how to modernize, how to achieve the advancements on digitalization. So that's the buzzwords. Now, this lady, Catherine Sutter, which was the Secretary of State in the German Defense Ministry during those times, her background is like, Catherine Sutter. She came from, and I will give you 10 points if you tell me where she worked before.
Oh, I don't know, maybe a defense contractor or something like that.
I'm gonna give you 3 choices: defense contractor, consultancy, or the Peace Corps.
Well, gee, I know it's not the Peace Corps, so she's a consultant or a defense contractor.
You gotta pick one.
All right, I'm gonna stick with my first choice, defense contractor.
Sorry, it was a consultancy, and then of course it's from one of the biggest ones is McKinsey.
Oh,
McKinsey.
Like,
and yeah,
McKinsey gets money from defense contractors to be consultants.
Yeah, so yeah, and she's like very good spoken and whatever. She speaks a lot. That's what's the big. It's a big quote. It's in part, we do not have the equipment. We simply don't have it. We have tank divisions without tanks. They borrow them from other divisions. It has no sense if there's a situation of security. Is one of the buzzwords that exists, whatever that means. And if we really want to comply with the task assigned by the parliament, by the Bundestag. So it's like, it's not us. Like, how can we do this if we don't have enough tanks to take care of, the German people? So we're like, well, many people can argue why Germans shouldn't have tanks now. That's a bad choice.
Yeah, the last time Germany had a lot of tanks, it didn't go well.
No, so, as the Polish.
Yeah, ask all of Europe.
Ask all of Europe. But well, now Germany in Afghanistan, they have this called the Marmal Camp. It's in north of Afghanistan. It's the biggest military installation in the history of the German army outside its borders. Now, let that sink in. We can joke about, Second World War. Well, imagine not even then they had a base as large and as Marmal Camp.
Wow.
Germany's mission in Afghanistan will not be possible without the civilian contractors, up to 34 different corporations operating the camp. In 2017, the mission comprised about 980 German troops and countless civilians. I will emphasize countless, German and non-German, as we talk about and as you will see. As for example, Ecolog provides laundry services, wastewater management, and gas stations for the German army in Afghanistan. They contract people from India, Pakistan, Philippines, and Afghanistan. Employees have basically no security against armed attacks. Some have died because these installations, they wash the uniforms. They have, it's very sick. They have Afghans washing German uniforms, an occupying army uniforms, and and they get targeted by Al Qaeda because they're like, "Oh, you're traitors!" Like, I just need a job. I'm poor or whatever.
Wow.
But it's really contradictory for them. I must imagine it must be a very hard choice. Without private contractors, the number of deployed soldiers will seem too high, since the German parliament, the Bundestag, has to approve all armed actions. So that's the trick. And as you said, we're pulling troops. Yeah, but how many people you need? And going back to that interview of Joe Rogan and Jocko Willink, I don't know if it was there or Jocko said in another video. He said, like, you need something like 80 guys like in the back room to have 20 guys out there. Right. So you can have like sense of the proportion of people that you need working for these companies. To have 980 German troops, maybe you need like 3,000 contractors just for, and you save face. You are in the parliament and you say, oh, but we only have 500. Yeah, but we need 2,000 contractors. Because
they keep saying, oh, we're pulling troops back, but there's still all these contractors there, and the troop deployment number seems low, but there's all these tens of thousands of extra contractors. And it's also why we have this never ending state of war, because the defense contractors are always making money.
Yeah. And that's a trick. If you say, we only have 200 troops. Yeah, but, and you might think, how expensive is to have 200? One of them must be the cook. One of them, no. Like, this is like these 200 guys are the guys who actually fight. We need to pay 2,000, and that's the money part of the thing is like the most important, because when you authorize in the German parliament, we authorize 500 German soldiers, you're actually paying for more. It's like it's like slipped on their, it's like a very cheap thing to do. I don't know. It feels like a trick, like one of those scams. Buy this, but when you buy it, you're also buying a $5 charge every month to your credit card.
Exactly. It's exactly that. This is just another scam. It's just like, but you need the additional software for this, and that costs extra, and this costs extra. And you're like, oh, wow. I just thought we were sending 200 troops there. No, you're sending 3,000.
And also the companies also operate and repair shops for German vehicles and tanks, and also the Bundeswehr's drone program in Afghanistan, the German army. And here I must have a warning. This is a Kafkaesque thing you're going to see, which is nightmarishly complex or bizarre or illogical, and you will see why. And it relates for the situation now in Palestine and the debate about what anti-Semitism is. Well, take a load of this. The German army program, of drone program in Afghanistan, they have reconnaissance drones. They are leased by the German army from an Israeli company and operated by Airbus, which is a Franco-German company. The operators, not soldiers, take off, navigate, and land the drones. They do not operate the drones in the critical stages of the missions. Many of Airbus pilots were once German soldiers. And this is like the most strange thing. It is like they lease them from Israel, like Germany, and to say, well, they were supposed to be the more peace-loving two countries and two peoples after their people do to theirs. It's like, no, now we're gonna join, but not for peace, for war. I don't know if you get it.
Yeah,
It's like it's illogical. It's oh, now they're all together, taking care of Afghanis. And this is a very good point that this guy makes, Hauke Fredericks, an expert in military affairs. He says, what happens is if one of these big and heavy drones falls and causes damages among the Afghan civil population. At the wheel, there was not a German soldier who is defined by international law as a combatant, but a civilian service provider to the German army. How will the German army react if the Afghan police showed up at the camp's door to arrest the drone's pilot?
Wow.
And it's I can understand this very clearly as a lawyer. It's torts law. I mean, yeah, when you wear a uniform for a country, you are protected by international law, and you're viewed as a combatant. The moment you take out that uniform, for whatever reason, you're no longer a combatant, and that's where lines are being blurred. And this guy is absolutely right. And I could even go further. I could say if you get, I mean, it's not the case because these are supposedly only reconnaissance drones.
Right.
But if one of these missions went wrong because info or whatever is bad, you can say, well, I will sue also the company. I will sue Airbus. I will sue the Israeli company, and I will sue the German government, because these are civil lawsuits, like tort lawsuits. And I mean, you see this in tort cases in the US. It's very common. I mean, you go and sue the car company, the manufacturer, the one who made the brakes, the one who made the airbag. And it doesn't matter if the company is in China or it's in Japan or it's a German company. And this is a normal thing to see in civil law. And this is the risk this is one of the risks, and one of the things that the politicians don't that they don't care about it.
No, they just care about the money rolling in.
And well, what the German government and parliament do not want it's one of the conclusions they see, seems to happen in Afghanistan. Military duties are outsourced, even the most sensible ones. The German army loses skills in the benefit of the arms industry. So who's working for who? And this guy, Jürgen Gresslin from the German Society of Peace, he said the entire system is a mafia. He goes right to the point. They are mafioso structures. Politicians hang like puppets from the strings held by the arms industry. What does a company like Airbus has to do here in Afghanistan? Nothing. The Airbus consortium wants to consolidate its knowledge. It wants to become Europe's leader manufacturer of drones, a Franco-German military access to use the system, German system, along with the German army, test and optimize weapons in order to produce their own Franco-German combat drones and sell them in the world market. Like, this is the whole point, to use the taxpayers' money to advance their weapons so they can be better weapons and sell them to even your enemies.
You're so right. This is just how the mafia does it. I mean, this is just like old school mob stuff, but they're just on a global scale, but with billions of dollars. Like, it's just the same old scams, only they say, oh, it's for freedom and democracy and whatever, innovation and technology for our war machine or whatever nonsense. It's the same old tactics.
And it's the thing I told you, it's the same thing like everywhere. It does sometimes, I mean, you're in the US and you have more knowledge of it, but you can, when you look someplace else, it's the same.
Yep.
Well, the documentary talks a little bit about America. So it says Americans take outsourcing one step further. In the most critical moments, more than 30,000 employees of private security companies fought for American armed forces in Afghanistan and Iraq. The German army may take an example of the Americans due to the low levels of new recruits. As I told you, German youths have many options. They started recruiting school dropouts and minors, and also turning a blind eye on physical requirements for those applying for an IT career in the corps. The new recruits need not to worry about cleaning toilets or even standing in long guards in Germany, since these activities have been outsourced in German bases. So if you go to a German base, you will be greeted like by an old German guy and an old German lady with a security badge, and welcome to the most important German base in Germany. And my name is, I don't know, and I work for Securitas or whatever the name of the company. And this guy, Tim N. Gardner, just have a very good comment about this. He says, first he says the German army not taking care of the security of its own quarters is a bad joke from history. And I think all of this was like Germany with Israel bombing Afghanistan is a bad joke from history. One, big empire you can call the economical empire, the U.S. being demolished in Afghanistan just as a Russian, not the Russian, but the Soviet empire and many other empires. They call Afghanistan the graveyard of empires. They don't call it for that because it's a nice place to go. I mean, and have a war. But yeah, it's a bad joke from history. And this guy is right on point when he says the longer a war lasts, the more revenue private military industries make. This is diametrically opposed to the interest of the head of state and government, who are supposed to seek the appeasement of wars as soon as possible. And that's is that why we have, when you have a government and you start going up, many of the structures that we supposedly have is for the appeasement of society. That's why we have a police. That's why we have social services. That's why we have, lights, street lights. That's why we have peace courts and local courts and federal courts, and the whole judicial system is because you don't want actual vigilantes and doing justice by their own hand. You want peace. And when you scale it up from your local to the global, so you get to the president and you say, hey man, why are you not seeking peace? It's no, but we have to defend, we have to, this is a, how do you call, preemptive attack. No. There's no such a thing in appeasement like preemptive attack. Is diametrically opposed. Mm-hmm. And that's the part. I have a couple of slides. There are some bonuses, but I want your comment on this.
Well, I mean, this is great. I mean, not your work, not this awful shit that the private contractors are doing. We're starting to run a little bit out of time, but so I want to say, I mean, it's not surprising, first and foremost. Well, there's two things that aren't surprising. One, knowing the private contractors, getting into the specifics of how they make their money and how basically it's, in many ways, it's a scam. They're doing what the mafia is doing. And two, that they would then wipe the tech companies like Google, which work hand in glove with the CIA. We know this. They don't want this information out there. And then there's no way the corporate media, this should be like a groundbreaking, not whistleblower, but just a groundbreaking story that the American people really need to learn. And they're rarely, this stuff is rarely discussed. They might talk about one story, but they're not going to, because look what the corporate media does. They'll have this, intelligence expert come on, or military advisor. And that's a person that used to be in the military and now they work for Raytheon or Halliburton or one of these companies. So they're not, the corporate media in America is never going to be critical of this. And the tech companies and the streaming services and all that, they're going to make sure a documentary like this never sees the light of day. When in fact, if our system was truly fair and just and democratic, a documentary like this, it would be getting a lot of buzz. It'd be getting a lot of play.
Yeah, especially like now when you have the German army actually getting out of Afghanistan. This will be a very good point. Wait a minute, why are we paying for all of this? Where did the money go?
And I think it's important because I'm sure the German people would like to know where their money's going, and the French people, and anybody in the European Union that has been, largely kind of
Dragged?
persuaded, to join by the. I mean, like if these are mafia, like America is the most important, is the strongest. We're the Corleones or whatever, and we're like, you better join us. And we muscled everybody 20 years ago to join this war on terror. And any country that didn't want to help us, boy, we, wouldn't give them money, or we whatever leverage we could use to force them into this.
But the thing for me is like the politicians, and you will see, they are very good entrepreneurs, and this is the bonus is very fast. I mean, that's gonna take even 2 minutes. This is today. Well, not today, but very early, like last September. Florence Parly, the French defense minister, she announces an investment fund for innovation, 200 million euros for develop startups and small and medium enterprises to develop technologies that potential strategical potential or something like that. Just buzzwords. They just have to, she wants to give a slush fund to really private contractors who will then contract her when it's out of government.
Of course. Well, because let's be real clear here. I mean, you bring up a great point. She's going to, put this like word salad out there that basically is just like, slush fund for contractors, because the 5 top defense manufacturers, their CEOs are all women. So
and this is also a woke thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh yes, and in France, I mean, I can make a fake accent, and I know French, and you can say, oh yes, we can, we need the women to be more represented here on the minister. Oh yeah, Madame Ministre. Oh si. It's like, well, I don't care if it's a dog. It's wrong.
I know it's that thing to trick people into thinking that, we're making all this progress because now women and people of color can profit from war.
Yeah.
And like, it looks like you said, it looks so woke. It looks like diversity and all this stuff.
And Ursula von der Leyen, what she's saying at Davos before the pandemic? Oh, the European Union must develop a credible military capabilities.
Oh.
Do you know why she was voted? I mean, there are many women in Europe, many women in the European Parliament, and many women in European politics. Why specifically? Why is she? Because she's hand in hand with these contractors, and they say, "Guys, we're gonna make a lot of money."
Yep, it's what I say in the show: follow the money, connect the dots, find the truth. So why did she get this position? Because why didn't the woman from Ireland, that's that openly socialist woman that's totally critical of the EU, she didn't get this job because she's not going to be rubber stamping contracts for the
make a European army. What she's saying here is we need a European army. That's the thing. And I thank you, Graham, for letting me get into your show and get this out. I hope you can, if people listening and who talk Spanish, who can understand Spanish, can look for this. The whole documentary is really interesting. It shows worse things about Angela Merkel and the presidents, which we know because of Trump. It's a good thing that they're just salesmen for the arms industry.
Yeah, I mean, so we're clear. Tell us the name of the documentary, and currently, based on your research, it's only available in Spanish?
Yeah, it's only available in Spanish, and in Spanish is El Ejército en mano de las corporaciones. And you will find it like that, and YouTube is still like that, I guess. And I hope you find it. I mean, you can just go back and see it in the timestamp. You can find it here, and it's okay. And it's the same thing. I know that time's up, but there are many things. I mean, now you're talking about Palestine and the money sent to Israel, and I just want to get into the money, and you can find 148 billion sent in the fiscal year 2020 to a country which is almost exact the same size as New Jersey, almost exact the same population as New Jersey, and New Jersey has a 38 billion.
Wow.
They passed a 38 billion budget for their year.
That's,
I mean, you can check this out. Rutgers University, which is a state university, has a 4.5 billion budget. So you could pay New Jersey and New Jersey's state university, for 3 years with what they sent in 1 year to Israel. Just, you have to do these comparisons because numbers can go like,
yep.
You know?
Well, that's amazing. And it is the same model that we're using for funding Israel and funding the war machine in the Middle East. We're doing it through Europe, and the European Union wants to do this as defense contractors. And of course, they have no boundaries. They have no, borders. They can just get whoever they want, and they just spend the money to get the right people in place to say, update our military and this and that. So it's just insane. But I urge people to go if you speak Spanish, especially, to watch this documentary. And tell us the name of it in English again.
It's The Armies in Hands of Corporations.
Armies in Hands of Corporations. Well, thank you so much for showing us the documentary and all the facts in it, and also that it's been basically scrubbed from the internet, which must mean it's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
So, Emilio, I really appreciate it for you taking time again. I appreciate you supporting the show, and you did a lot of extensive research for this. And, it's why this show is great, is because all of you citizens of Gotham, you're all political vigilantes, all out there finding the money and connecting the dots. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. Thanks for having me. And if anything else shows up, I'll call you.
Awesome, dude. Have a great day, man.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was fantastic, man. I mean, that's the last time I think he came on the show, he talked about how because I believe he's in Mexico, that like they're buying they bought a Black Hawk helicopter to fight the drug war or whatever like that. And he was just pointing out more ridiculous spending and weapon sales by the United States to like a governor in Mexico. So it's really, yeah. Follow the money, connect the dots, find the truth, folks. What do we say? What happened? That's all he did. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have, like, you just dig a little bit. He's a smart guy, obviously, but like, it's not hard. And then you see it's the same pattern, right? It's the same pattern that we use in the Middle East, the same pattern we use with our local police departments. It's the same pattern they're using in Europe. It's the same pattern. Then the big tech companies scrub the document. Or if it was in favor of the war machine, then this documentary would get a lot of play, like the white helmet stock. Oh, it's the big winner. It's all that nonsense. It's unreal, man. So let me go over to the Rockfin. Matt S, shave your knuckles for justice. Your energy is strong today, dude. Boo. That's that vegan fury, Matt. Don't stop, won't stop, can't stop. Thanks for supporting us, Matt, over on the Rockfin. I really appreciate it. The Annalise Show. What's up, Annalise? How you doing, sweetie? Check out my Rockfin tonight, 7:00 Pacific, for a special People's Podcast interview hosted by myself and Nick Brana with guests Susie Dawson and Sean O'Brien of Panquake. Check that out. Another great reason to join Rockfin.com is you get Annalise Show, who she was flat out deplatformed. They just kicked her off of YouTube. I guess they're not so woke over there at the Google, at the CIA tube. So check out Annalise's show, and again, they're going to be live with Nick Brana. So some of you have questions about Nick Brana and the People's Party. Ask the questions. It's fair to ask the questions. Like, I think I'm a big fan of the People's Party. I hope they do well. And you have a right to ask, like, how are you going to do this? What are your policies? Where's the money? If I donate to you, where's it going to go? And what's it going to cover? And those are all great questions to ask. And if you have questions about Panquake, ask Susie. Panic is awesome. I've seen a demo. I just saw a demo like last week and I'm like, oh snap. It's amazing. So check that out. You know, we've had Nick on the show. We've had Elise on the show. We've had Sean and Susie on the show. So go check that out tonight at 7:00 Pacific time. I will be surfing. MHC, shave your knuckles for justice. Vegan guns for truth. Started working with more. The gym by me is now open. So I was using a lot of bands. I'm back to like weights and machines, which means, oh my God, these guns going to be a little David Niven, kids, the guns of Navarone. Just yesterday, there was a mass shooting at a light rail train yard here in San Jose. Yeah, I heard about that. First thing I thought of when I heard the news was Graham and Jordan on Status Coup, both saying mass shootings, something to the effect of coming soon to a town near you. And sure enough, there it is. Even in hyper-progressive Silicon Valley, I wish that reputation was even halfway accurate. I was watching the news today, over 232 mass shootings this year, 100 more than last year. I mean, even Gavin Newsom, who I'm very critical of, not a huge fan of, said, what's wrong with America? What's wrong with us? Like, that guy is such a neoliberal, such a politician, but he even was like, sounded like he was emotional about it. He was like, what the hell's wrong with us? Seriously, this doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. I don't want like, it doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. We're having an average of a mass shooting a day. More than that. We've had 232. We're not halfway through the year. It's insane. Yay, we're back to normal since the pandemic. This is what back to normal is: a mass shooting every day and a cop killing just about every day, every week. Tomorrow or the next day, within the next week, there will be another mass shooting. And it'll be done by a male, almost assuredly a male. Women don't do mass shootings. So guys, what the fuck's up with that? Probably a white male. And, you know, probably a history of mental illness with easy access to guns. If the next mass shooting doesn't have those qualifications, it'll at least have one of them. It'll at least have one of them. If it doesn't, another one will have all those qualifications. Yeah, here's the questions to ask. How did the shooter get the weapons? How did they get them? Because like people say, I've heard like gun supporters say, well, Chicago has the strictest gun laws in the country and look at all the shootings they have. Yeah, because they drive across the border to Indiana that has easy gun laws and they buy guns legally. Or people in Indiana buy a bunch of guns legally and then sell them on the street for double the price or triple the price. They report them stolen. They file off the serial number and sell them on the street. How hard is that? So that's the argument. Well, we don't need strict gun laws. Look, it doesn't work. No, it doesn't work when the state next over, you can, you know, kids can just fucking buy them at a goddamn Toys R Us or whatever. Keep shooting each other, America. Okay. Hey, Second Amendment people, just keep living in masses. So what's the solution? Give everybody a gun? What's the solution? Give teachers guns? That's insanity. That's no other country does this. Just talk to anyone from another country and ask them about this. It's fucking stupid. There's going to be another mass shooting. So that's Wingbird America. Violent madness. Yeah, more people are dying from all over from no healthcare and poverty. Yeah. Yep. It's not an either or. Again, but more people die from they don't have healthcare. Yeah, that's also awful. What's wrong with America, the richest country in the history of the world? We shouldn't have a mass shooting every day. No one should be dying because they don't have healthcare. There shouldn't be people living in the streets. All these problems can be fixed. You don't have to pick. It's not either or. It's just it's preposterous. But all right, America, just it's a form of insanity to defend this and downplay and say it's not that big of a deal. This is what people who are addicts or who lived in an alcoholic addict home and make excuses. It's like, your husband or your wife is drunk all the time and they get DUI and they keep getting fired. Yeah, but I mean, I've seen you get a little too drunk too. They make excuses. Well, the boss was a dick. No, you showed up to work drunk. That's why you got fired. You know what I mean? The cop was an asshole. Cops can be assholes, but you were drunk driving, so you got a DUI. Even if the cop was a dick, you were drunk driving, which is putting other people's lives at risk. Oh, what am I supposed to drink? Water every day? Like, it's just that same crazy, oh, you can't take my gun. All right, cool. Everyone gets a gun? You and your children aren't safe. Does that make you feel good? Texas just now, like anyone can buy a gun now without any background checks? Okay. Mark my words. Today is May 27th. A year or two from now, a couple years from when that law was just enacted and is becomes official in Texas, maybe it just became official or it's going to, whenever. Mark my words, 2 years from that date, Texas will have more shootings. Texas will have more shootings. Texas will have more gun deaths than they did prior to that law. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Prove me wrong. Remember this day. Yeah. Texas is going to have more power outages because they didn't fix the power outage problem from March. Remember when their power went out? Because we're Texas, we're all alone. And a bunch of oil guys got them off of federal regulation back like in the 1930s or 40s or something like that. Their power's going to go out again and they're going to have more shootings. And there's going to be another mass shooting in America within the next 5 days. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Yeah, but okay, you like mass shootings. You like, so give your kids a gun. So if everyone has a gun, you think that's going to make less shootings? Okay. Why do we need driver's license? Just anyone can have a car. Why have a DMV? Why take a driver's exam? Driving's a privilege, but owning a gun is a right. Cars kill people. Yeah. And you have to go to school and you can lose your license if you keep getting in accidents or get a DUI. If you fail the driver's exam, you don't get it. If your eyesight goes bad, you lose your driver's license. When you get too old, you lose it. It's gone. You lose it's a privilege. The state can take your privilege, your driving privileges away, and cars have all these safety laws. The car of today is 100 times safer than the car of 50 years ago. Guns today, more lethal. So there goes that argument. I just blew that argument away. Next argument. Next argument you want to lose with? Next. Australia had a really horrific shooting in Tasmania in the early 90s. And they said that, and the country overwhelmingly said, we're done. They passed all this strict regulation. They made guns really hard to get. You can still own them if you're like a rancher or something. It's really hard to get. And gun deaths have gone down. How did that happen? Oh, there's no NRA. The NRA is a gun lobby, right? And every time there's a mass shooting, gun sales go up. So they infuse fear. And the NRA spends money primarily with the Republican Party, but they still spend on Democrats. Like AIPAC spends a little more with the Democrats than they do with Republicans, but they still spend across both parties. It's the same thing with the NRA. And they use fear mongering and propaganda. You know, I see some propaganda like showing like a guy, I don't know, something somebody put on. It was supposed to be some joke thing. And it was like a guy having sex like he's a woman or something like that. And it's basically saying this guy's a pussy. And it says the guys that have sex like this are the same guys that want gun control. And someone was like, ha, 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 ha. And I was like, oh, yes, the American male, so easily propagandized by the NRA to think that their masculinity is tied to owning a weapon. The gun lobby thanks you. You push any of those pro gun talking points? Guess that the gun lobby thanks you. They thank you so much. Like when it's just like when you say, "How are we going to pay for Medicare for all?" Big Pharma thanks you. Big Anthem Blue Cross, they thank you. The gun lobby thanks you. So I need a gun for protection. Do you think your gun makes you immortal? You're still going to die, right? What if society collapses and I don't have a gun? Like the crazy survivalists always, they can't wait for society to collapse so they can just run around and kill people and be fucking savages. They can't wait for that shit. They can't wait for everything to turn into the road. What do you do when society collapses? What are you going to do? Punch my way. I'm out. Punch my ticket. I'm done. If society just becomes like mayhem and there's just roving gangs in the streets and people are just getting raped and killed, what the fuck do I want to live in that world for? I'm done. If I can't surf, tell jokes, and watch baseball, fuck this. I'm out. We got to preserve the human race. Do we? We're so stupid we got to kill each other? Do we need to survive? Because species that don't evolve go extinct. Did you know that? Species that don't evolve go extinct. That's Mother Nature. She doesn't give a shit about your Second Amendment. If you keep acting like a fucking idiot, she's literally going to go, all right, we're done. You want to buy an AR-15 rather than like, have reasonable laws to reverse climate? The climate's going to collapse and your AR-15 is not going to be, I don't know if you know this. So when there's no more breathable air or drinkable water, you're not going to be able to shoot it with your AR-15. That's like, I don't know, your AR-15 you couldn't kill COVID with. Like, I'm going to kill. That's why I'm going to beat up Asians. What the fuck? Blaming Chinese people for COVID is like blaming hurricanes on Barbados. Goddamn people in Barbados keep running around in circles. They're causing hurricanes. So your gun can't stop climate collapse. Couldn't stop a pandemic. If you want to just shoot your neighbor, then you got all these guns. I got these guns. Try burning this one. Eventually, if society collapses and you're in your fortress with your militia and all your guns, you know what someone's going to do? They're just going to burn you out. I'm in my fortress with my guns. They're just going to set your fields on fire. And there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. They're going to smoke you out till you smoke to death and die. They're going to cut off your food supply. They're going to contaminate your water. That's how like savage tribal shit will go down. That's how that'll work. So then what with your AR-15? Society collapses. You better be ready. Okay, they got a dentist in the apocalypse. When everything society collapses, you have a dentist, you have a chiropractor, you have an eye doctor. Because let me tell you something, little root, and we saw that this pandemic, kids. Think we're so tough. Be ready. Okay. Yeah. What are you going to do when the food supply? Grow my own food. Okay. Again, someone can burn your crops. What do you do when you twist your ankle? Don't just go to the doctor and get it taken care of. We saw that when COVID, the hospitals were overrun and routine. What are you going to do if you have a heart attack or a stroke or just shortness of breath? There's no doctor to go to because society's collapsed because you didn't want gun laws. And you kept voting for idiot Nazis and fascists, either in the Democratic or Republican Party. I'm sorry, what happened? No, I just want you to see what this I'm going to live off the grid with my guns world looks like. It's going to be horrific. It's going to be horrific. Yeah, I just want you to know what happens. Yeah, what happens? What happens if your appendix bursts? Just rush you to the hospital. We'll just do appendicitis. It's a routine operation. Oh, wait, no, there are no hospitals because society collapsed. What's going to happen? What happens if you have an impacted molar? What's going to happen? Shortness of breath. Maybe you got a weird valve or a clogged artery. Oh, you're dead. You're done. Your AR-15 is not going to prevent that. So you can't shoot. You can't shoot your heart attack. Okay. Next dumb question. Just keep saying stupid shit and I'll shoot down all of your dumb. I've heard all of these before. What's next? What do you want to do with your gun? Gun. Yeah. Okay. What do you do when your neighbor turns on you? What if your neighbor has a bunch of guns and they just decide to turn on you because you have all the food and they don't, and they've got kids? and your kids are grown or whatever, then what? Then what happens when your neighbor turns on you? People turn on each other. It happened in Europe when the Nazis gained power in certain countries. Some of the people watch these documentaries like, oh God, we were in Hungary and our neighbors, they turned on us because the Nazis came in and they just went with the most powerful team and they turned on you. People that work together, like community gardens and let's all work together, they'll survive, but just gun me, selfish gun, you're done. You're done. Fall down a flight of stairs. There's no hospital to go to. No, oh, I'm in a soft cast for 6 weeks, but then I'll be good. And then I do physical therapy. There's no physical therapy. That's gone, done. Okay. Then what? Eyes go bad. I'll just go to the Walgreens and buy a pair of readers. No, those are done, gone. Those got smashed. Okay. Next. Got a nice dog. Oh, your neighbors ate your dog because there was no more food. Then the storms and the hurricanes because of climate collapse. Well, you'll just shoot the hurricane with your AR-15, right? That'll stop the storms, floods. Oh, brush fires are going to start. You live in some place like California where there's dry climates. What about if we have a massive drought anywhere? Climate goes out, brush fires, but there's no fire department with helicopters dropping water and all this coordinated. That's all gone. So the brush fire, you're going to shoot the brush fire with the AR-15? I'm just asking. I'm just trying to figure this out. You're going to shoot the brush fire? Floods? You're going to shoot the flood? Gun, flood, flood. Gun, flood. Shoot the flood. Shoot the flood. Is that what you're going to do? Yep. Thanks for watching the show, everybody. Shave your knuckles for justice. Boom. That's going to be a full segment. It'll be survival of the fittest and craziest. Shoot the flood. Mad Max Future. Does that sound fun? Is that really, you want to live in a mad, like people are like, I know you guys are laughing, but like people are like, yeah, survivalists. You want to live in that world? It's awful. This fucking candy ass country couldn't go 3 goddamn months. The first 2 months of the pandemic was like everyone working together. We got to protect the elderly and people with pre-existing conditions. And we're going to go out and bang our pots and say, yay, and support, essential workers. That was really cool. Everybody working. We're all in this together. And then by the month 3, everyone started complaining. Goddamn London got bombed every day for 3 years straight during World War II. The Nazis bombed London every day. And the Brits would just go down into the tube, which is the subway. Those were the bomb shelters, and just boom, 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 just hell from above, just destruction. And they just say, stiff upper lip, carry on, cheerio. They did that for 3 years. This candy ass country, by the 3rd month, we're like, we're going to take over the Michigan Capitol because we can't get a haircut. I've got my gun. I need my gun. I'm scared of everything, so I'm going to shoot it. Gun. Great. Then everyone just got selfish. The big cities, the small towns. Oh, fuck it. I'm not wearing a mask. Yeah, Nana had a good run. Doc Terminus, shave your knuckles for justice. Please stop bad-mouthing the military, especially the influence in movies. You're going to need at least an aircraft carrier to lead, act, and direct the Muppet Rising. That's fantastic. You're great, Doc Terminus. Just pray you don't get sick. All right, I'm going to do this segment. Squeaky mic. Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Political Vigilante. Look at it rise up just like my vegan guns. My vegan guns are making Gotham great again, folks. First headlining show Sunday, May 30th at Blue Note in Waikiki. If you're in Hawaii on the beautiful island of Oahu, you came here on vacation, come see my show. It's my first headlining set, 45 minutes. I'm so pumped. My buddy James Monet is on the show. He was in the First Nations Comedy Experience, first ever Samoan to do stand-up comedy on North American TV, which is really cool. So get your tickets at grahamelwood.com. And support what we're doing because we're still demonetized by the CIA tube. So this video was submitted. A great way to support the show is go to patreon.com/GrahamElwood by Charlene Bronsale Long. There's an oil spill. I didn't know this. There's her full name. Let's maybe get in there. There's her full name. Sorry. And then my shoulder's got to block the rest of your name. That's been going on for a long time. There's an oil spill still going on. Gee, weird. No one's reporting it.
I have to say, the boat's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Everything that we do is a lot bigger than it seems.
Timmy Cuvion's a marine engineer who does most of his work for the oil industry. But for the past year and a half, he's been helping the government clean up the longest running oil spill in American history. And there's a good chance you've never heard of it.
The longest running oil spill in American history? Weird that we haven't heard of it. Gee, I wonder why that got covered up. Couldn't be because the oil companies buy ad time on the corporate media. No. That's crazy. I'm a wackadoo. That's a crazy conspiracy.
Why do you think the public wasn't made aware of this spill until long after it happened?
You know, that's a great question, and it's something that I struggle with.
Clearly, that I mean that's a great question, and questions are great. I like words, and
I was aware when it first happened, and then I just assumed that it had been taken care of.
The spill started back in 2004 when Hurricane Ivan tore through the Gulf of Mexico.
I'm sorry. Did you see 2004? Oh, so it's only 17 years old? Okay, cool. That's not a long time for oil to go into the environment because oil is good for the environment, right? I mean, isn't what Granny Petrol likes?
And knocked down an offshore oil platform owned by a Louisiana-based company called Taylor Energy. Taylor tried to stop the leak, but only managed to plug about a third of the compromised underwater wells. After spending $200 million to clean up the site, they claimed nothing more could be done. They said the necessary technology simply didn't exist, but that only about 2 gallons of oil were still seeping into the ocean each day.
2 gallons a day? They spent $200 million and went, I don't know. We don't have a robot to fix this. Sorry. We're sorry.
When did you first find out about the Taylor Energy oil spill?
I first heard about it right after the ongoing BP drilling disaster.
Dustin Renault works for the environmental group Healthy Gulf, which monitors oil spills along the coast. They were surveying the infamous BP spill when they inadvertently discovered that the Taylor leak, a full 6 years after it started, was much, much worse than Taylor and the government initially reported.
So when BP spilled in 2010 or 11 or whatever, this one had been going on since 2004? Weird that never came up.
Someone saw it on radar and called us to go fly over it to check and see if it was actually something. And sure enough, there was a miles-long slick of oil. We asked the Coast Guard, hey, what is this over here? This doesn't look like BP. And they're like, oh, that's just Taylor. It's just 2 to 3 gallons a day that they're spilling, which at that point raised red flags immediately for our guys.
Why did it raise red flags?
Because 2 to 3 gallons of oil doesn't leave a 10-mile sheen on the surface of the water. So it's kind of ridiculous the discrepancy of what we saw and what Taylor was reporting.
So already they were lying. So even the 2 to 3 gallons a day, which sounds awful, so that was a lie. this is what alcoholics say. Like, I just drink after 5. I mean, I just, I'm just never, I mean, I'm going to tone down I've heard I'm not going to drink anymore. I mean, just maybe after 5 o'clock, I mean, just a glass of wine with dinner. I'm not an animal, but that's it. No more drinking. I mean, if it's a business lunch and the client's ordering cocktails, I'm not going to say, no, I don't want to lose this sale, but that's it. I mean, a little something in my coffee every morning just to get the day working, but that's that. Other than that, no more.
About 9 miles off the mile of the river out of a shipping lane, and it just went unnoticed due to lack of. And at that time, there just wasn't conclusive evidence to see exactly what was going on down on the ocean floor.
Captain Christy Luttrell is the Coast Guard commander in charge of this part of Louisiana. For years, the Coast Guard and Taylor Energy went back and forth on how bad the spill was and whether it could even be cleaned up. Taylor has cited studies that found there was no active oil spill and that any evidence of oil was from contaminated sediment.
Yeah, because it's not like the oil industry has a history of just making their own studies that are full of lies. I'm sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit.
They also point to one that suggests any attempt to clean up the site would lead to more environmental damage.
What led the Coast Guard to decide that it needed to go outside of the company responsible for the leak to fix the leak?
Well, we had given the responsible party the chance to contain the spill. There was a little bit of a disagreement between the government and the responsible party of exactly what was going on down there. And when they didn't act, I went ahead and partially federalized the case and hired the contractor that we chose, and they got the job done.
That contractor was Kuvion. He created a device that would end up collecting 1,000 gallons of leaking oil a day, around 250 times more oil than Taylor's original estimate.
And when Taylor wouldn't do it, that's when they hired us. And then we installed a containment system to catch it.
The core idea of that system is pretty basic. A really big upside-down bucket that catches most of the oil before it disperses. But to make that work, you need a whole lot of gear.
The oil is currently 450 foot under the
That's
water.
been collecting oil.
It's collecting oil all month.
Every 28 days you're picking up 2.5 of these?
Yes, we fill these tanks here. We've collected 300,000 gallons of oil so far.
Roger, 210's going in the water.
After a month of trapping the oil, a remote-controlled drone brings a hose down to pump the oil from tanks underwater to tanks on board the ship.
I'm sure the oil company's like, well, can we get that oil now and sell it? I mean, you guys cleaned it up because we couldn't, but can we? Is it cool? I mean, we feel like we should maybe sell it, right? Was that weird?
What happens to the oil once you bring it back to shore?
We collect the oil and then we deliver it to a recycling facility. Then sold and turned into energy. It's a great Louisiana sweet food.
It's not a permanent solution at all. It's a cap on something that's spilling. Every day right now, 1,000 gallons of oil is not pumped into the Gulf, and it's pumped into a containment device, and it's kept out of our environment. I think that's a pretty large victory to celebrate, but it's a temporary solution, and we need a permanent fix.
But nobody, including federal agencies, has come up with a permanent fix. And Taylor still doesn't seem...
I've got one. Hey, federal, I've got one. How about we stop drilling? How about we get off of oil, because all it does is ruin the planet and cause wars? And I mean, I know that sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. And having an oil company, fix their own spill is like kind of crazy. Like a police department investigating corrupt cops, or like a drug cartel in charge of stopping the opioid epidemic. I don't know. I mean, sorry.
convinced that one is possible or even necessary.
So they've taken the position that nothing more can be done, and that they've essentially stopped the leak. And then,
wow, oil companies are assholes. There's not more we can do. You guys drilled, you caused the leak, you couldn't fix it, and you're like, I don't know what to do, man. I got this girl pregnant and I guess she's having the baby. There's not much more for me to do. You could step up, be a man, raise the kid financially, be there, be a good parent. I mean, that's kind of crazy. It sounds like a bunch of communism.
Not that bad. It's pretty damning evidence that the leak is it's substantial.
How is that argument even being taken seriously?
It's a joke.
But Taylor Energy isn't laughing. They're suing everyone.
Taylor Energy has not only sued the federal government to get all of their money back out of a trust fund that the government forced.
They're suing? I'm going to drive my car into your house and smash it up and say, I'll try to clean it up. And I'll say, I can't clean it up anymore. And you'll say, yeah, you can, Graham. You got to clean this up. And then I won't. And then you'll have to hire your own company to clean up my smash because I was driving out of control. And then when you do that, then I'm going to sue you and the state. And I'm going to say this, your driveway was mean. The stoplight wasn't bright enough. The stoplight was fully functioning. Yeah, but it didn't like really stop me.
Set aside. They've sued me because the Coast Guard had me go out and install a containment system to clean up their mess.
In the suit against Kuvion, Taylor demands Timmy be prohibited from accessing the site, saying that Kuvion is not professionally qualified to undertake the work. In the suit against the Coast Guard, which specifically names Captain Luttrell, Taylor wants the government to reverse their decision, saying they shouldn't be held liable for the Coast Guard suddenly changing their plan based on a more recent study. We requested an on-camera interview with a Taylor representative on multiple occasions. Each time, we were denied.
You know what you should do? If I was that guy and they were suing me, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to sue Taylor's executives. I'm going to sue their kids. Like, I'm going to sue anything. I'm just going to file 1,000 insane lawsuits against Taylor executives, against their wives, against everybody, just like all of them. I'm going to just sue you. Just really. I'm suing your kid for something. I'm just going to, well, you can't come near my family. Well, you're being stupid. So I'm going to sue everybody. Like, these companies are out of control.
At the moment, oil companies self-report leaks, right? They tell people that there's a leak, they tell how large it is.
I'm sorry. I know. I mean, so just so we're all clear here, just so we just learned what the law is. Oil companies report their own leaks. Drug cartels, we're going to start them. They're going to report their own overdoses. You take any prescription drugs and there's an adverse reaction, just tell the company. Yeah, and I think we should do that. I think we should let criminals report their own crime stats. I think that's fair. So you're a criminal, you break into somebody's house and you steal stuff, then you can report, well, it wasn't theft. It wasn't breaking and entering. It was a relocation of assets.
It's hard to look at this and know precisely whether this is like a company behaving badly or a company that just doesn't know what the heck to do.
Come on, Vice reporter. Do you really not? Are you really unclear? Watching this segment that you put together, you're really like, are they acting badly or they just don't know? Really? You're really unclear? This is my problem with Vice. They do something like this that's like, oh, wow, pretty good. They're bringing this to the light. And then they ask that jackwagon question. Pablo Escobar, I don't know. Was he a bad actor in the drug cartel space, or did he just not know that he was murdering people when he had them murdered?
I think it's a bit of both. I think the company has definitely made some missteps along the way, but I also think if we allow oil companies to be in charge of their own cleanup, we don't know if their reporting is accurate. The government isn't fact-checking it.
This oil spill might be the longest in American history, but it's definitely not the only one. According to Healthy Gulf, there were over 2,000 spills or leaks in 2016 alone.
2,000 just in 2016. This is why I drive an electric car.
Meanwhile, the Trump administration's current approach to offshore drilling is to loosen regulations.
We're going to drill. It's going to be the best drilling everywhere. Everything's great. Like, if there was an oil spill on Mar-a-Lago, that idiot wouldn't stop drilling. God. And then now Biden's in office, so we're going to have stricter regulations, and it'll just be the no regulations that Trump had. They'll just put back the Mickey Mouse Band-Aid on a shotgun wound regulations, and then we'll go, see, that's why we needed Joe in office. All these incremental half measures, man. It's unreal.
So that number is only expected to grow.
When you're drilling and exploring for oil, there's inevitably going to be spills that come with it. But how we respond to that and how we clean that up is, the true testament of what our workers and our government.
No, just stop drilling. We need to get off of oil for any number of reasons. Keep it in the ground because of spills, which contaminates water and hurts marine life. When it's burned in the internal combustion engine, it pollutes the environment. Like, just no. A real Green New Deal that transitions all of these. I don't want to, these employees who work for these oil companies, I don't begrudge them anything. They need a job. And that's why you transition them to green energy jobs. Look, the United Mine Workers of America, the Union of Mine Workers, they're all for transitioning coal miners to green energy. They're like, just give us like, let's say you make 50 grand a year working in coal or at one of these oil refineries. You're going to keep that same amount of money, 50 grand a year, whatever that was, and move you into green energy. We could all do this, but instead we got this crap. Oh, I can't watch this shit anymore. I just can't watch this stuff anymore. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Charlene, for submitting that. And I guess thanks, Vice, for covering it, but then still not saying we should be off of, like, that should be the crux of this story. The theme is, this is why we should be off of oil, longest spill in American history. Like, that should be the title of this story. So it's all the more reason, folks, to vote with your dollars, get off of oil in whatever way you can. Like I said, I drive an electric car. I know that's not like the best solution. Electric cars have their own issues, but just the oil we just got to be done. It causes wars. It just pollutes everything. And oil companies are just riddled with soulless liars at the executive level. The people working, they're just working class people who need a job. Living in Louisiana or the Gulf, they need a job. I don't blame them. They need a job. But they would gladly take a job, the same pay, same benefits, working in clean energy. They would be better for the environment, better for their kids and their grandkids' future. Of course they would. It's the executives, the greedy assholes who run the companies. They don't give a damn, and they don't give a damn about their own employees. So thanks for watching this show. Support us any way that you can. Go to GrahamElwood.com, go to Patreon and Rockfin and all those great ways to support the show. Follow the money, connect the dots, find the truth. That's how you make Gotham great again, kids. Shave your knuckles for justice. Boom. All right. It is a start. MHC, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Thank you for supporting us at rockfin.com. People had to be warned not to shoot at Hurricane Irma 2017. Imagine if we get aliens in 2020 like people were joking about. People were shooting at a hurricane? Jesus. I don't even know what to do. Christine Solomon, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Christine, thank you so much for the big donation. We appreciate it. I appreciate you supporting our show in any way possible. You rock for bringing this to our attention. Taylor Energy is discussing, and I'd never heard anything about them till your podcast, looking into what I can do. Thank you. Thank you, Christine. And when you support my show, like Christine did, or Charlene, who brought us that at Patreon, it's how we can get it out there and wake people. Because I didn't know that until Charlene sent me that video. I was like, what? I was furious. Like, ugh. So thank you. You guys support what I do so I can keep bringing you this stuff. And I'm trying to just joke about it because it just makes me so mad. 290 likes, 403 likes. Holy shit. What am I watching? 403 likes. All right, folks. World Socialist Revolution or else. I believe you're right, Chimchery. All right, kids, let's sing a song and get on out of here. I gotta get rolling. I gotta get rolling. Oh. Elvis Presley's You Were Always on My Mind.
Picking it up.
As Eddie Vedder? I think so. Maybe I didn't treat you right as true as I have. Maybe I didn't hold him right as I have as I have. The things I could have said and wrong, I just never looked at her. You heard all his how. You heard all how. Maybe I didn't hold you like Jeremy would have done. And I can't, I never hold you. Even so, I'm so happy. I made you feel like a daughter when you didn't want to be called daughter. You heard all her. You heard all her. Tell me how. Tell me how your sweet love has it high. Give him how. Give me one more chance to satisfy. How. Little things I should have said and done, I just never took the time. You heard how. You heard always on my hand. You heard always on her hair. Very high, it'll hate you. Not as good as I should have. Maybe I didn't love you right as often as I could have. Maybe I didn't hold you all those lonely nights. And I guess I never called you daughter. I'm so happy that you're mine. All right, folks, we'll be back with Government Secrets tomorrow at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern. You were always on my mind, citizens of Gotham. Thank you all so much for supporting our show. Thank you, Backyard Politics. Go check out her show. Thank you for stepping in to be the moderator. Very much appreciated, Nikki. And like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Government Secrets tomorrow at 3:00, and then I'm taking a week off. I'll be back. I'm going to take Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So show tomorrow, Friday, 3:00 Pacific. And then the next show won't be till next Thursday, which come back with the game show. Thank you, everybody, for supporting what we do here. Very much appreciate it. Follow the money, connect the dots, find the truth. That's how you make Gotham great again. And you are all political vigilantes. Shave your knuckles for justice. Kaboom.